The girl stood at the edge of the ranch, yard like she wasn't sure she belonged to the earth. Beneath her boots, thin shoulders pulled inward, hands clasped together as if holding on to the last thing she owned that couldn't be taken away. Dust streaked across her cheek where sweat had carved a path. Eyes lowered but not broken, and when the wind lifted her loose strands of hair, it carried with it the quiet kind of determination that only comes from someone who has already lost too much. The rancher noticed her not because she announced herself. She didn't, but because silence has weight. When it walks into a place full of noise, and this ranch was loud with men, cattle, iron tools, and unspoken grief. He had buried his wife 2 winters ago, buried her laughter with her, and since then the ranch ran on habit instead of heart. When he finally spoke, it wasn't kind or cruel, just tired. He asked what she wanted. She swallowed once, eyes flicking up for a heartbeat before dropping again, and said softly, "I don't talk much, mister, but I can cook." The men nearby snorted. One laughed. Another muttered something ugly. The rancher didn't smile. He studied her hands instead, the scars, the burns, the quiet confidence in the way they didn't tremble, and something old and human stirred behind his ribs. He told her to prove it. They didn't give her a kitchen, just a pot, a fire, and whatever scraps the ranch hands hadn't already ruined. She moved without asking questions, sleeves rolled, back straight, eyes sharp. And when she stirred that pot, it wasn't desperation in her motions, it was memory. The smell rose slow and rich, wrapping itself around the yard, crawling into the men's stomachs before they realized they were hungry for more than food. Even the rancher paused his work, closing his eyes for half a second because the scent reminded him of evenings when his wife would hum while cooking, when the house still sounded alive. When they ate, no one spoke. They just ate, bowls emptied, then refilled. One man wiped his eyes and blamed the smoke. Another asked who taught her. She said no one. The rancher watched her from the porch long after the bowls were clean, and when he finally said, "You're hired," it wasn't charity, it was recognition. That night, she slept in the old cookhouse, listening to the walls creak like they were remembering better days. And for the first time in years, she didn't sleep with one eye open. The ranch woke different the next morning. Men worked harder, complaints came quieter, meals became moments instead of interruptions. And slowly, piece by piece, she stitched herself into the fabric of the place without ever asking permission. But not everyone welcomed her presence. Some men didn't like a quiet girl with no past and eyes that noticed too much. Whispers started. Questions followed. Where did she come from? Why didn't she talk about her family? Why did she flinch at sudden movements? The rancher heard the rumors but said nothing. He had learned that broken things don't need pressure. They need time. One evening, as the sun bled into the fields and the men gathered for supper, a stranger rode in with dust on his coat and hunger in his eyes that had nothing to do with food. He recognized her the moment she lifted her head. His smile was wrong, familiar. The pot slipped in her hands. The rancher noticed. He watched the color drain from her face, watched her steady, herself like someone bracing for a storm she'd survived, once and never wanted to see again. The stranger called her by a name she hadn't used in years. The yard went quiet. The past had found her, and this time it didn't come alone. As the rancher stepped forward, placing himself between the girl and the man who knew too much, he realized hiring her hadn't just changed his ranch, it had invited a reckoning. And somewhere between the firelight and the silence, he made a decision that would bind them both to a future neither of them had planned. And if you want to know what she was running from, why she truly stopped talking, and what the rancher risked when he chose to protect her, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now, because the next chapter reveals the secret that almost destroyed them both.